Hey everyone, Kathy the Vegan Prepper here to bring you a vlog all about some of my old world and kind of uncommon skills. And the reason I really want to make this video is actually because I want to hear about yours. So please let me know down in the comments below if you do any of these things yourself, and especially if you have things on your own list that are not on my list, because it might be the next thing that I want to learn. So I think skills are one of the most important things that anybody can collect. And I am not here to tell you that I think that all of this stuff is going to serve me in some sort of apocalyptic scenario or whatever. But just in general, being a capable and self-sufficient person, I just like, or to be that, I just like to kind of know how to do everything myself. And so that's where a lot of this has been born of that desire. A lot of this has been born of that desire to be self-sufficient. I'm not starting again. This is like take 872 and I just need to get through it. So anyway, we are here in my studio, which I am now jokingly calling my bunker because it's got all of this food in here that I don't know where else I'm putting it. There's like, you can't see over here, there's also food like over here and it's just crazy. But anyway, so storing food, I guess, would be part of the things, part of the list. It wasn't originally on my list, but there we go. But really, this video came about because I started thinking about all of the weird things that I do. Because recently, with my weight loss and fitness goals, to keep myself busy and to keep myself from snacking, I'm close to 30 pounds this time around. So, yay, it's like close to 70 pounds off my heaviest weight ever. So, but y'all know, whenever you do a weight loss journey, especially if it's a really long weight loss journey like mine is, like I still have over 100 pounds to go. You know, it's not really going to be like one and done. So, you know, it's like a, because there's a lot of stuff to work out. Okay. It is not, if it were just about losing weight, everyone would be skinny. But anyway, I love to spin lately. So this is number one on my list, spinning. And I'm doing spindle spinning off of a spindle that we made, you know, a long time ago. And I just recently made this little yarn. It's a 2-ply that I spun on the spindle and plied on the spindle. I've never plied on the spindle before. I have a spinning wheel, so I prefer spinning on a wheel, but the spindle is really handy for when you have a toddler running around who does not understand the meaning of, don't touch that, it's expensive. So I do it on the spindle. And so that is skill number one. I also, kind of in conjunction with that, I knit and I crochet. So I knit socks. Actually, Adam, Mr. Vegan Prepper, loves the socks that I knit. And for the longest time, that was his present, like, every single birthday, every single Valentine's Day, every single anniversary. There was one time I knit the man, he's a size 11, okay? I knit the man a pair of socks in a week using sock yarn, okay? And now, back in the day, that would be nothing. But now, that's like a big deal. And I got like cramps in my hand and stuff. It was not like easy. But anyway, I did that and he loves that. He has a huge collection of handmade socks. I don't really do that as much anymore, especially not since Sage has been born. I have kind of gotten rid of all of this stuff. Crochet is great too. I do a lot of different things with crochet, but I would say my favorite out of all of it though is spinning. I just love making the yarn and I don't really know what I do with the yarn after, but that's what I do. So I do all of that. I also have a rigid heddle loom, a little Cricut. So I know how to do some weaving on a rigid heddle loom. And so that's kind of fun too, like random things. I remember when a group of ladies from my church found out that I knit socks for my husband, they all looked at me like I was some sort of compound wife. They would be like, how many wives does he have in the back room? You know, over there, she's knitting him socks. It was like this kind of hilarious moment. I was like, yeah, I knit the man socks, I do, but I'm modern, but like, I want to know how to do things. I don't want to be that modern. Gosh, I don't want to be useless. Like most modern people I find are like thoroughly modern people are kind of useless. It's like, I don't want to be like that. So anyway, so moving on from that, also we have, because I have props, sourdough bread making. So this is one of the most recent loaves from last night. I don't know if it turned out good or not because we didn't cut into it. Mostly they turn out really good. I do 100% whole wheat, so they never get as lofty as the loaves that you'll see like everybody show off on YouTube. But this is the second loaf. We already cut into the first loaf. And so we've got sourdough bread making. So I do probably 4 to 6 loaves a week, depending on how quickly people are going through it. And so and the sourdough starter just goes in my fridge. So depending on yeah, how fast people are going through it in the house. I don't eat it anymore, so that's no longer on my eating plan. But I make it, and it is still for me because it makes feeding all these people in my house so easy sometimes. Just be able to say, get a sandwich, or, so it's like, it's still for me, even if I'm not eating it. But yeah, also fermenting. So this is my latest sauerkraut batch. And I have noticed these last 2 times that I have not gotten very much of the brine, and I have to keep pushing stuff under the level. And I don't really know what's going on with that, but this is a mixture of green and red cabbage. It's been now sitting for like 4 days, and it's doing pretty well, but it needs to probably go for like another few days before it's ready to eat. But yeah, so there's sauerkraut. I'm also getting into vinegar making. So this is a batch of rice vinegar, which will hopefully be ready pretty soon. And I am excited about this, and being able to make my own rice vinegars and not have to buy it for like $4 a tiny bottle at the store. And then it'll be super cheap. And rice vinegar has got to be one of my favorite vinegars to cook with, just because it's so sweet and delicious, like mild, but like it gives you that astringent taste without it being like a punch in the face astringency, So I really love rice vinegar. I really hope that my rice vinegar begins to turn out well. So after fermenting on my list, I have gardening. So I grow stuff, and especially here in the desert, I know so many tricks. I'm pretty darn good at my gardening here, growing my own food and all of that. I put fire building on my list of things, but so far only with like matches or a lighter. Honestly, I find building with matches is easier than a lighter, because you can light the match and then toss it down, versus with the lighter, you have to like light it exactly right or set it up. So I don't know, I find matches easier. So I want to move up to learning how to do it with the flint, and then eventually learning how to just do it with sticks. But that is actually like a fitness thing too for me. Like, I've tried the stick thing before, and it's like, you know what? I don't currently possess the fitness and the strength to complete this task. So eventually, when my fitness continues to improve, then I will be attempting that. But next, I'm going to be doing flint for sure, and learning how to do that. So after fire building, I have pressure canning and water bath canning. So I can can a lot of stuff now. I've been canning soups and beans and potatoes and all that stuff. I've always made jams. This year was the first time I made jam from stuff from my own yard. I did a sorrel jam, and so that was really cool. And so expanding a lot of the food preservation. So one of the reasons for the food preservation too is, as the garden is expanding, I need to preserve the things that I grow. So I don't do very much of preserving stuff from the store, with the exception of things like potatoes. I do can my own potatoes, but especially because I definitely see a seasonal increase in price. Because potatoes, like white potatoes or gold potatoes, are more of a cold weather food. And so in summer, they're like 3 times as expensive as they are in the winter. And so being able to buy quantities of things when they are cheap and in season, and then can them or dehydrate them or preserve them or freeze them somehow for when they're not as cheap later, that's one way that you can get into canning and preserving. But right now, jars are so precious too that it's really hard to decide to use up jars to can anything for kind of long-term storage. So yeah, it's a brave new world we're in right now with all of this coronavirus stuff, and suddenly can't find any jars, and like everything in my house too. Like, I'm slowly converting to, like, even like with my fermenting, you see, like, although the giant ball jar I do have things in, but like anything that can be used for canning, I'm like not trying as hard as I can to no longer use it for food storage, because that's for canning now, because I can't find jars. But anyway, I still have some things. Okay, I'm doing it again. I'm talking too much. I need to keep myself on track. So with pressure and water bath canning, I didn't bring any props for that one. Herbal medicine making. So that's another thing that I do a lot of. So it's like tinctures and teas and salves and herbal oils and poultices and all of that stuff. So not only knowing how to make it, but knowing what to do with it, like how to use each one of those things, is really important. So I've been learning a lot about that. for many years now, and I'm getting pretty good. I'm by no means an expert, but you know, I'm pretty good. There's actually not much that happens in this house that I'm not like, okay, let's go do this, like, and like I know how to take care of you, whatever's going on with you. So at least in my house, and I'm not talking about like super serious stuff, but even kind of a few people around me have begun to kind of ask me about certain things, and there's certain things that I make that people like and really want, and so then they keep wanting to pay me and I keep not taking money. I guess I need to figure out how to not keep giving stuff away for free, but I don't know, I like giving stuff away for free. So if it gets to be a ton of people, then maybe, but for now, I just like if people are hurting, I'll give you my cayenne salve. You don't have to pay me for that, okay? You being pain-free is the payment that I need for that. But anyway, I do have a prop. This is Jamaican sorrel tincture that I made, and this is a sorrel that I grew in my yard. And you see how gloriously red that is? I think I've shown this before. I haven't decanted it yet. I need to. But yeah, so this is some of the sorrel I made into a tincture, and then some I made into a jam, and then other parts of it I dried for use in teas and whatnot. So herbal medicine making. Food dehydrating is another thing that I do. So that's part of the long-term food storage. So like for instance here, I have got a collection of dried black beans. And if you want to dry beans, pressure cook them first. They rehydrate way better if they're pressure cooked first. I don't know why, I just read that at some point, and it seems to be true because I haven't ever dehydrated anything that was not pressure cooked first. You can dehydrate your stovetop beans, but apparently they don't rehydrate as well. I don't know. This is just what I read. So I'm passing it on to you. So that's why I dehydrate pressure cooked beans. And so that would be out of your Instant Pot or your pressure cooker, or out of canned beans from the store. Like if you want to transfer your canned bean storage into dried bean storage, people say, why on earth would you do that? Well, for one, to take up less space, to make it weigh less if you're going to be backpacking or camping, or like for bug out bags. So many reasons that you might want to take that and turn it into a dehydrated product instead of a canned product. So even if you don't have a pressure cooker, it's potentially an option for you. So I don't mean to talk, like I need to shut up and get through all this, but here we go. Canned, so dehydrated black beans, but these were from pressure cooked from dried beans. These were not canned beans. But anyway, there's that. And that's, I think, 1 pound of black beans turned into that, or it might've been 2 pounds of black beans. I can't remember. And then this is a whole bunch of frozen corn, which I dehydrated. And then frozen bell peppers are dehydrated too. And then this is one that might be, this is from canned tomato paste. I made a tomato paste leather basically out of tomato paste. So all of this is again dried. So thinking camping, bug out bags, anything, or dry storage. Like I have discussed before that I live in central Arizona. And so it gets extremely hot during summer. If we lost AC, our house would get to be in the mid 90s, upper 90s very quickly. Like we had 3 days without AC last year, or was it the year before? And it was September. It wasn't even the hottest part of our year, and our house was in the upper 90s. And so had I had a ton of my food storage in home canned goods and things like that, I probably would have lost a lot of that during that time period because you're not supposed to store it at too high a temperature. Now, thankfully, we never lost power. It was just our AC broke. So I still had my freezer, I still had my fridge, and things like that. But it's just something to keep in mind. Like if I lost power, these would be good, even if they got hotter, because that's how they're preserved, is by being dehydrated at like 125, you know. So I could have all these things on hand and still have food for my family and not have to worry about the heat or losing power, losing AC, losing whatever. But anyway, these particular items I brought out because I haven't done it yet, but I want to experiment with making a black bean Mexican soup mix. Anyway, okay, food dehydrating. That's it. I'm going to stop talking about that. And then the final thing on my list of the things that I do, this is again just kind of like a really fast list that I came up with, was body care recipes. And this right here is what I lovingly call my face mayo. It's because it's basically just an emulsion of like an herbal infused oil and water, and it makes a wonderful cream. And so it's just a lotion, and then I can use it, you know, on my body. I actually do. So I call it my face mayo, but I actually use it on my whole body. And so there's, like I said, herbal infused oils. It's almond and jojoba oil and vitamin E oil and certain essential oils and all of that. And this is an absolutely beautiful face and body cream that I use to keep myself nice and moisturized here in my crazy dry climate. And so that is a tip too. Like if you live in a place that's really moist, you might be able to get away with just a facial oil. But oil does not put any moisture into your skin. What puts moisture into your skin is water. So if you want something that's going to be deeply moisturizing, you need to have oil and water together, and then the two of those end up moisturizing your skin. And that is how you make yourself a good lotion. And it's as easy as taking your oil and your water and like basically making mayo out of it. And then this does have beeswax in it. Again, I have old stuff. I have beeswax that is like 70 million years old. Not that old, but like so much, because I buy from a local supplier and it's only $7 a brick of completely raw, unrefined beeswax from the local hives. And I bought I must have bought 10 at one time, and I still have so much of it left over. So I'm still using beeswax, even though I know that carnauba and candelilla wax and stuff like that exists. But I have discussed before, I'm not 100% sold on using a different wax anyway, because I'm using wax from a small scale local supplier. And I feel like, how could that possibly be better for the environment than, or worse for the environment than something that's like shipped from South America? Anyway, we've discussed beeswax and honey and things on that. And also, you know, it's like, it's bugs, okay? Like, I'm vegan for the animals, but I don't know, like, I have to kill bugs to get my stuff out of my garden. So anyway, you talk about all that at some point. I know somebody's just like, you're not a real vegan. It's like, well, I don't care. So it's like, we got to kind of have a discussion at some point, but I have actually talked about it in other videos. Anyway, as I have said many times before, I don't know if I've ever actually posted one of these videos, because I make a lot of videos that I don't post, but I am devoted, but not dogmatic. I'm willing to look at some stuff and think through some things. So I'm not like blindly religiously vegan any more than I am blindly religiously Christian, okay? So anyway, that is that. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that off. Oh, actually though, I will say really fast, what are my next things I want to work on? So this is a list of just kind of a quick list, and talk about some of the things that I already do. And so what is something that I am interested in learning next? And I've discussed with the fire building, I want to work up to doing just like flint and spark thing, and then eventually the coals once my fitness is there to be able to maintain that. But I also really want to learn how to brew alcohol. So how to make wine, and then maybe even beer. But the thing is, like, we don't drink in my house. It's because I want to learn how to do it, again, just to sort of make myself a valuable person in some sort of disaster scenario too. I feel like a lot of this is kind of insurance as well. Like, if you are the kind of person who has these skills, you become valuable in potential disaster situations. But not only for that, but because I feel like that is the first step towards being able to make my own kind of really fine distilled alcohols that I could then use for my own herbal medicine making. And so that's kind of like a loop that I want to close, because currently to make my medicines, I am dependent upon buying alcohol from the store. And so I kind of want to learn how to make my own for medicine making, but I think it's going to start with things like wine and beer, which I don't really know what we're going to do. You can make herbal wines. So I've been looking into that a little bit, and like cordials and stuff like that. And so we'll see. But yeah, more and more bushcrafting skills is another thing that's kind of on my list, is getting more out into nature and learning how to survive. And then like I have for that, I have my Firebox stove, which I love, which I've already used to cook outside, and it's really great, and I love this thing. I'll bring it out at some point and show it, you know, on a video that isn't already 20 minutes long. But yeah, so like I think next for me will be alcohol brewing and more bushcrafting and survival skills. So if there's anything on my list that you do, let me know. I'd love to like share tips. Anything that you want to do, anything that you do already, even if it's not on my list, because I really want to learn about that too. And then yeah, like I said, this is all the stuff that just kind of came immediately to mind of some of the things that I do in my life that are kind of old world and not that common anymore. But yeah, anyway. So as always, I hope the rest of your day is good and your life stays wonderful. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you later. Bye. And hi, little invader. Hello. Are you gonna come be in the video? You're gonna come help me? She's not gonna help. Here, come here. Oh, you don't want to?
I need a diaper.
Oh, you need a new diaper. Wait, Sage, you need a new diaper?
I need diapers.
Oh, okay. Well then I guess.
Okay.